Every time you pick up your phone, you believe you're making a choice. But are you really? Look at your screen time right now. The patterns are almost predictable, aren't they? The algorithms know when you'll reach for your device before you do. You wake up convinced today will be different. You'll be more productive, more present, more you. Yet by nightfall, you've followed the exact behavioural patterns predicted by lines of code written by people you'll never meet. This isn't coincidence, it's mathematical certainty. What if I told you that the very concept of free will, that cornerstone of human identity, might be nothing more than an elaborate illusion in today's algorithmic age? That your so-called choices are predetermined not by some divine plan, but by predictive models so sophisticated they can anticipate your desires before you're conscious of them. The question haunting our digital age isn't whether technology is controlling us, it's whether we ever had control to begin with. Consider this. You open a streaming service believing you're freely browsing, yet everything you see has been curated specifically for you. The recommendation algorithm doesn't just know what you want, it shapes what you want. When you finally select something to watch, was it truly your choice? Or was it the inevitable outcome of a sophisticated prediction model that understands your preferences better than you understand yourself? These algorithms don't just respond to our behaviour, they actively modify it. Your social media feed isn't simply showing you content, it's conditioning your emotional responses, your political views, your perception of reality itself. The documentary you discovered last week was placed precisely in your path, at precisely the right moment, to maximise the probability you would click. Think of the last major purchase you made. Before buying, you researched online, compared options, read reviews. You felt informed, empowered. But each search query narrowed your options further. Each click reinforced the digital profile being built around you. The final purchase wasn't the culmination of free choice. It was the predicted endpoint of a carefully mapped journey. The uncomfortable truth is that your digital footprint creates a shadow self that algorithms understand with frightening accuracy. When Target can predict a customer's pregnancy before her family knows, when platforms can identify potential mental health crises from typing patterns alone, are we still the authors of our own stories? This modern algorithmic determinism resurrects ancient philosophical questions with urgent new dimensions. Determinism, the view that all events, including human actions, are ultimately determined by previously existing causes, isn't new. Philosophers, from Democritus to Laplace, have argued that free will is merely an illusion. Benedict Spinoza proposed that freedom is simply the absence of external constraints on what was always going to happen anyway. Even if you feel free, he argued, your choices are predetermined by the entire causal chain of the universe. But today's determinism isn't cosmic, it's computational. It doesn't rely on universal laws of physics, but on behavioural prediction models. The ancient Greeks couldn't have imagined a world where your next thought could be predicted by a machine learning algorithm trained on data from millions of people who share your behavioural patterns. What would Immanuel Kant say about autonomy in an age where your choices are invisibly guided by algorithmic manipulation? Or Sartre about authenticity when your preferences themselves might be manufactured? The philosophical paradox deepens. We use technology to expand our capabilities, yet that same technology may be constraining our agency in ways we barely comprehend. We gain convenience, but surrender spontaneity. We obtain personalization, but forfeit serendipity. But perhaps we're caught in a false dichotomy. Maybe determinism and free will aren't mutually exclusive. This is the compatibilist position, that meaningful choice can exist even within determined systems. Think about it. Even if algorithms predict what book you'll enjoy next with 95% accuracy, that still leaves room for the unpredictable 5%. The recommendation might shape your options, but the final decision, the experience of reading, the meaning you derive, these remain intensely personal. You might be statistically predictable, but you're not mathematically inevitable. Before we continue exploring this tension between determinism and agency, I want to ask you something important. If you're finding value in these philosophical explorations, consider subscribing to this channel. We dive into these existential questions regularly, examining the intersection of technology, philosophy, and what it means to be human in the digital age. Hit subscribe now and join our community of thinkers. Perhaps freedom isn't about escaping deterministic influences, but about understanding them. The algorithms might predict your behavior, but they don't comprehend your subjective experience. They can map the what, but never truly know the why. Consider how a chess grandmaster's moves are both highly determined by rules, strategy, and response to the opponent, yet simultaneously creative and expressive. The constraints don't eliminate agency. They provide the structure within which meaningful choice becomes possible. So how do we reclaim agency in the algorithmic age? It begins with awareness. The deterministic forces we understand lose some of their invisible power over us. First, recognize the prediction machine surrounding you. That notification wasn't random. That special offer wasn't lucky timing. That viral video didn't just happen to align perfectly with your worldview. By understanding the mechanisms of influence, you create distance between stimulus and response, a space where choice becomes possible again. Second, introduce randomness. Deliberately seek content outside your preference bubble. Use privacy tools that obscure your digital footprint. The algorithms can only predict what they can see. Third, practice mindful technology use. Before each click, each purchase, each share, ask yourself, is this really my choice? Or am I following a predetermined path? This momentary reflection breaks the automatic response loop the algorithms depend on. Finally, embrace the paradox. Even in a largely determined system, the experience of choice matters. Your subjective sense of agency, whether philosophically real or not, shapes your relationship with technology and with yourself. The algorithms may predict your behavior, but they cannot prescribe your meaning. They might analyze your past, but they cannot author your future. They compute probabilities, but they cannot calculate purpose. We began with a provocative question. Have we surrendered our agency to algorithms? The answer isn't simple. We exist in a space between complete freedom and total determination. A space that has perhaps always been our home, but which technology has made visible in unprecedented ways. The algorithms are getting smarter, the predictions more accurate, the influences more subtle. Yet, paradoxically, our awareness of these mechanisms grows alongside them. We are simultaneously more determined and more conscious of that determination than ever before. Perhaps true freedom in the digital age isn't about escaping algorithmic influence. It's about engaging with it consciously, not surrendering to technological determinism, nor pretending it doesn't exist, but developing a sophisticated relationship with the systems that both enhance and constrain our choices. The philosophical truth might be that we were never as free as we imagined, nor are we as determined as we fear. We exist in the tension between these poles, and it's in acknowledging this tension that we find our most authentic selves. So I leave you with this question. In your daily interactions with technology, are you consciously choosing or merely following the path of least resistance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Perhaps, in discussing our constraints, we take the first step toward transcending them.